Her granny's wedding night advice was brutal. Bear it in silence, expect violence, never show weakness. But when the Korean Mafia boss carried her to his penthouse, his whispered words in the darkness changed everything she knew about survival. Los Angeles, June 2024. The morning of her wedding day arrived with unseasonable heat, smog hanging thick over the city like a shroud, as if the sky itself warned of what was to come. 26-year-old Zinny stood before the floor-length mirror in her hotel suite, her reflection showing a woman marked by survival, dark skin glowing against white silk, eyes that had witnessed too much, her posture rigid with learned caution. Today, she would marry Pyeon Dong-Min Chan, the Korean Mafia boss of 34 whose first wife had been murdered by rivals 3 years prior, under circumstances whispered about in fear across LA's Underworld. The marriage had been arranged through intermediaries, a transaction of brutal necessity. Dong-Min required a wife to stabilize his position and unite fractured territories, while Zinny's family desperately needed the gambling debts her late father left behind to disappear. The only alternative was blood payment. She had met the crime boss only twice before this day, both times in tense settings where conversation remained calculated and cautious, his expression coldly controlled, his dark eyes revealing nothing of the man beneath the reputation. He was striking in a dangerous way, tall and broad-shouldered with sharp features and an air of absolute lethal authority. But there was no warmth in him, no hint of mercy or even basic humanity toward the woman he had agreed to claim. Zinny harbored no romantic illusions about this union. She understood her role, decorative wife to legitimize his operations, potential mother to heirs if she survived long enough, a debt settlement wrapped in expensive fabric. This was survival mathematics, nothing more. Thank you for being here. Can I be honest? Only 3% of people who watch these stories actually subscribe, and that breaks my heart. Because you're about to experience something powerful, and I want you here for every chapter of Zinny's transformation. If this opening gave you chills, if you're already invested in whether she survives this marriage, hit subscribe right now. It takes 2 seconds and costs nothing, but it tells me you want more stories about women finding power in impossible places. Don't just watch. Be part of this community. Subscribe. Then let's continue. The hotel suite felt like a gilded cage, air conditioning fighting a losing battle against LA's brutal June heat. Zinny adjusted the off-shoulder neckline of her custom gown, white silk that cost more than her grandmother's annual rent, and studied the stranger in the mirror. She looked expensive now, polished, like something worth owning. 6 months ago, everything shattered. Her father collapsed at the kitchen table, brain aneurysm instant and brutal. Then came the men in black suits, speaking Korean she barely understood, presenting ledgers showing numbers that made her stomach drop. 200,000 in gambling debts to the Chan organization. In the legal world, bankruptcy exists, payment plans, consumer protection. But when you're locked out of traditional banking, bad credit, immigrant status, systematic exclusion, you turn to underground economies with their own merciless mathematics. Her father had borrowed from loan sharks who answered to the Mafia, chasing one more win to save them. He'd lost everything instead, including his life to stress. The choice arrived clinical and clear. Zinny marries the boss, or they kill her uncle, her cousins, everyone her father's bloodline touched. You listening, baby? Mrs. Jones' weathered hands adjusted Zinny's veil, her voice flat with hard-earned wisdom. When he takes you tonight, you stay still. Don't fight. Don't cry. Men like that, powerful men, they get excited by struggle. Your body is payment for our survival. You bear it silent. You survive. That's all. Her grandmother's trafficking history lived in those words. Decades of abuse repackaged as protective advice. teaching endurance as the highest female virtue because accepting any other truth meant confronting horror she'd never escaped. Zinny's hands trembled as she walked down the aisle between rows of dangerous men in expensive suits, their faces carved from violence and money. Korean underbosses, Russian enforcers, Chinese syndicate, representatives, all watching the debt payment in white silk. Then Dong-Min's hands, surprisingly gentle, slid the platinum band onto her finger, and for one impossible moment, they trembled too. Dong-Min carried her across the penthouse threshold with unsettling ease, and Zinny went rigid, every muscle locked in anticipation of violence. Her grandmother's voice echoed, "Bear it. Stay silent. Survive." Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased L.A. sprawling beneath them, a glittering empire built on vice and desperation. He set her down gently by those windows, stepped back, created distance. "Your safety comes before everything, always." His whispered words in Korean-accented English shattered the script she'd memorized. "I need you to understand that first." Zinny stared, disbelief warring with bone-deep suspicion. Men like him didn't speak about safety. They took what they wanted. "My first wife was Ji-yeon." Pain flickered across his controlled features. "The Russian Bratva killed her 3 years ago because I prioritized territorial expansion over her protection. I failed her. I won't fail you." He moved through the penthouse, pointing to small buttons mounted discreetly on walls. "Panic buttons. Every room. You're not trapped here, Zinny. Press 1, my security comes. Press twice, and a car takes you anywhere you want. No questions." Her breath caught. This had to be manipulation. Predators didn't hand prey escape routes. "You're thinking this is a game," he said, reading her expression with unnerving accuracy. "It's not. In my world, I can give you 2 things: protection and choice. Your body belongs to you. The marriage contract bought your family's safety, nothing more. I won't touch you unless you want me to." "Why?" The word escaped raw, disbelieving. "Men with power use it." "Because power without ethics makes monsters." He poured 2 glasses of whiskey, offered her one. "Even in darkness, we choose how we operate. I need a partner who understands these streets, not another victim." His dark eyes held hers. "Tell me about growing up in South L.A. The real story, not what you think I want to hear." Something cracked in Zinny's chest. The first fracture in armor built from a lifetime of survival. 3 weeks dissolved into something Zinny never expected. Partnership. Late nights on the penthouse terrace became their ritual, the city sprawling beneath them like a constellation of compromises, neon signs marking territories, each light representing someone's survival calculation. "The Russian underboss at tonight's meeting?" Dong-Min asked, pouring her wine. "What did you see?" "Cocaine habit. Fresh track marks on his left wrist, covered poorly with his watch." Zinny's street-raised instincts read what his trained men missed. He's desperate, which makes him dangerous. Don't trust him with anything time-sensitive. Dong-Min's eyes gleamed with recognition. "You see the streets in ways my people can't." He started bringing her to meetings, territorial negotiations, supplier arrangements, asking her assessment afterward. Her insights proved invaluable. She understood desperation's tells, recognized when poverty made people unpredictable versus when ambition made them strategic. Born into his world of power, Dong-Min understood command. Born into hers of survival, Zinny understood hunger. Physical affection evolved with careful intention. His hand finding hers during tense negotiations, grounding them both. Protective embraces after close calls with rivals, his body shielding hers instinctively. Each touch asked permission through glances, through pauses that let her choose. Desire awakened in Zinny, unfamiliar and frightening. Her grandmother's teachings screamed that powerful men took, never asked. But Dong-Min's restraint confused everything she'd learned about masculine violence. "Why do you always wait for me to?" she started one evening. "Because in our world of violence, intimacy must be freely chosen, or it means nothing." His thumb traced her knuckles. "I run protection rackets, Zinny. I control territory through force. But I won't control you. That's the line I won't cross." She found herself leaning into his warmth, this man who killed for business, but treated her like someone whose thoughts mattered, whose strategic mind complemented his, whose presence made him, impossibly, smile. For the first time, Zinny felt seen as complete. Not just a survivor, but someone building something new. The bullets came fast. Mexican cartel ambush during what should have been neutral territory negotiations. Dong-Min's body covered hers instantly, shoving her beneath the table as glass exploded around them. His security returned fire while he kept her pinned, protected, his heart hammering against her back. They returned to the penthouse, shaking, adrenaline electric in their veins. Without words, they climbed to the rooftop garden, needing air, needing space from the violence that had nearly consumed them. LA stretched beneath them, a glittering map of vice and survival, beautiful and poisonous under distant stars. "Can people be good in bad systems?" Zinny's voice cracked. "Or does the darkness eventually take everything?" "I don't know." Dong-Min's honesty cut deeper than comfort would have. "But I know we can choose how we operate within it." Tears escaped despite her best efforts. "My whole life, I've been property, my father's gambling chip, a debt payment. I've never belonged to myself." Her voice broke. "Not once." Dong-Min turned her to face him, hands cradling her face with devastating gentleness. "In this moment, you're the most powerful person in my world. Because what happens next, it's entirely your choice." His kiss was soft, questioning, every movement asking permission. When he pulled back, his dark eyes held hers with absolute focus. "Do you want this? Not because you owe me. Not because you're paying anything. Because you want me?" The question revolutionized everything. Her desire mattered. Her choice transformed a transaction into something consensual, something wanted. "Yes." The word freed something ancient in her chest. "I want this. I want you." What followed was patient, careful, genuine, consummation on her terms, his attention focused entirely on her comfort, her pleasure, her experience. Intimacy built on trust felt nothing like the brutal endurance her grandmother described. In Dong-Min's arms, Zinny discovered that even in morally compromised darkness, agency and dignity could exist. Perhaps especially there, choice mattered most. The neutral casino glittered with dangerous money, 5 families gathering on territory belonging to none, ancestral enemies maintaining careful civility. Zinny entered beside Dong-Min, his hand at her waist, presenting her not as decorative wife but strategic advisor. The whispers started immediately. Korean traditionalists clustered near the baccarat tables, their judgment sharp as broken glass. Black girl playing at being Korean wife. Disrespectful. Others were crueler. Debt payment with a pretty face. Temporary entertainment until he remembers his place. The racism cut deeper than she expected, slicing through the confidence she'd been building. At the Chinese underboss's private dinner, Zinny excused herself to the powder room, needing a moment away from assessing eyes. 2 women entered behind her, wives or girlfriends, designer dresses and diamond rings marking their status. "He'll tire of his charity case soon enough," one said in Mandarin, not knowing Zinny understood. "Take a proper Korean wife like his family wants. She's street trash pretending at being one of us. The other's laugh was poisonous. He's fucking her, sure, but he won't give her real power. Men like Chan don't make women like that actual partners. Zinny's hands clenched the marble sink, their words striking every insecurity she'd ever carried, racialized trauma, class shame, the bone-deep belief that she wasn't worthy of genuine respect. Mrs. Jones' warnings flooded back. Powerful men always use, never cherish. You're fooling yourself, baby. She returned to the penthouse that night and retreated behind familiar walls of silent compliance. In meetings, she stopped sharing insights. During negotiations, she stayed quiet, decorative, exactly what they all expected. Dong-Min's confusion manifested as careful questions she deflected with empty smiles. His fear grew visible. Was his protection becoming control? Was he unconsciously forcing her back into the victim role he'd sworn to prevent? The partnership they'd built began crumbling under the weight of a world determined to see her as temporary. A week of Zinny's silence nearly broke them both. When she refused to speak during a crucial territorial negotiation, just sat there, passive and decorative. Dong-Min dismissed everyone and turned to her with anguish carved into his features. What have I done? What? Tell me how I failed you. The dam broke. Zinny's tears came hot and bitter as she confessed everything. The overheard mockery, the racist whispers, the constant reminders that she was street trash playing dress-up in a world that would never accept her. Maybe they're right, she whispered. Maybe my grandmother was right. All powerful men eventually show their true nature. Perhaps I should accept my place and stop pretending I'm your equal. Fury exploded across Dong-Min's face, not at her but volcanic rage at the systems and people who'd taught her this poison. He sat beside her, equal to equal, and took her hands with trembling intensity. I love you, Zinny. The words landed like a blood oath. In this fucked up world we live in, you're the one clean thing I've found. The one thing I won't compromise. Her breath caught. I'm hosting a gathering of the 5 families. You'll stand beside me as my equal partner, and I'll make it clear. Anyone who disrespects you signs their own death warrant. His dark eyes blazed. But first, you need to confront your grandmother. Her survival strategies saved her life, but they're endangering yours now. Trauma perpetuates through generations when we let it. Break the cycle, Zinny. She understood then. Mrs. Jones' teachings came from real horror, protective instincts born from decades of abuse. But those same survival strategies, transplanted into Zinny's different context, were destroying the partnership she'd actually found. Sometimes the wisdom that saves one generation becomes the prison that traps the next. I'll go, Zinny said, her voice steady for the first time in days. I'll face her. The drive back to South LA felt like time travel, penthouse luxury dissolving into the poverty that had shaped every survival instinct Zinny possessed. Cracked sidewalks, barred windows, the weight of systemic abandonment pressing down like LA's smog. Mrs. Jones' apartment was a fortress of trauma, 7 locks on the door, a baseball bat by the entrance, pepper spray on every surface. Physical manifestations of decades spent unsafe. Your wedding night advice was based on your pain, not truth, Zinny said, standing in that small living room where she'd learned to make herself small. Marriage doesn't have to be endurance. Even in dark places, people can choose differently. Her grandmother's face twisted with fury. You're a fool! All men with power use it! The words came ragged, desperate. I was trafficked at 19. Decades of survival sex work, 3 violent relationships that nearly killed me. I taught you to survive what I couldn't escape, and you're throwing away the only wisdom I have. Zinny's heart broke and hardened simultaneously. I'm so sorry you survived that horror, Granny. I'm so sorry no one protected you. Tears streamed down her face. But I won't let your trauma script my life. I will not carry your survival as my only inheritance. I'm building something different, Miss Jones. Expression collapsed into something ancient and wounded. No blessing came, no reconciliation, just the gulf between a woman who'd survived by enduring and a granddaughter determined to choose differently. Zinny left feeling guilty and liberated in equal measure. The Russian Bratva hit the parking lot fast. 3 men, guns drawn. Someone had leaked her location. Dong-Min's security materialized from shadows, and the street exploded into violence. Blood on concrete, screaming, the brutal mathematics of gang warfare. As Dong-Min's men secured her in the armored car, one truth crystallized. Betrayal came from inside. Someone in the organization wanted her dead. The emergency meeting convened at a neutral Chinese restaurant, private room thick with tension. All 5 families present, weapons checked at the door, but violence simmering beneath expensive suits and cold eyes. Seo-Yoon Kim sat across from Zinny, 29, beautiful in the classical Korean way, Ji-yeon's younger sister, who'd expected to become the next Mrs. Chan. Her hatred was palpable. She's street trash playing dress-up in our world. Seo-Yoon's voice carried poisonous sweetness. Temporary black entertainment. When my brother-in-law remembers his duty to Ji-yeon's memory, he'll put this aside where she belongs. The room held its breath, waiting for Zinny to crumble. Instead, she stood, meeting Seo-Yoon's gaze with steel forged from survival. Strategic intelligence matters more than bloodline purity. I understand this city's streets in ways none of you do. That's why we've expanded into 3 new territories successfully in 2 months. Her voice carried authority earned, not inherited. True power isn't about who your family is. It's about what you contribute. Dong-Min's response was surgical. Screens descended, displaying financial records. Seo-Yoon's embezzlement, her communications with Russian Bratva, wire transfers, the assassination contract with Zinny's location circled in red. My first wife's sister dishonors Ji-yeon's memory more than anyone. His voice could have cut glass. She's been stealing from territories, selling information to our enemies, planning murder. Seo-Yoon's face drained of color as the evidence mounted, irrefutable, damning. Effective immediately, the Kim family is stripped of all Western territories. Seo-Yoon is exiled from Los Angeles. If she returns, she dies. Dong-Min's eyes swept the assembled families. Let this be clear. Anyone who touches my wife faces annihilation. The message resonated through the Underworld's brutal honor code. Even in criminal contexts, betrayal remained the unforgivable sin. Zinny wasn't just protected by Dong-Min's power now. She was recognized as untouchable. The Chan estate crowned the hills above LA, city lights spreading beneath like a galaxy of compromised choices. Electric tension crackled through the gathering. This night would either consolidate unprecedented peace or ignite gang war. Zinny entered beside Dong-Min, not trailing behind but standing equal. The 5 families watched, calculating. My wife will present our territorial peace proposal, Dong-Min announced, the power move deliberate and shocking. Zinny spoke with authority earned through blood and strategy. We're establishing the Zinny Chan Community Fund, legitimate charity protecting vulnerable people in our territories. Reduced violence increases profitability. Protected civilians don't cooperate with federal investigations. Her eyes swept the assembled crime lords. My husband grants me full authority over community operations and a permanent seat at this table. Dong-Min raised his glass. Partnership, protection, mutual respect. Anyone who disrespects my wife disrespects me. That's a death sentence. The Russian Bratva representative leaned forward, testing. Strong words, Chan. You'd risk war over... I've already eliminated your 3 key lieutenants. Dong-Min's smile was surgical. I rebuilt my organization around protecting what matters. Test that at your own extinction. You'd go to war over her? Someone asked, disbelief evident. I'd burn this city to ashes for her. Dong-Min's hand found Zinny's. But she's built something that makes that unnecessary. Peace is more profitable. That's why she's invaluable. The families shifted from mockery to pragmatic alliance. Power recognized power, regardless of its origin. Later, on the terrace overlooking their corrupted empire, Zinny whispered, "How far we've come. Your safety comes before everything. Always," Dong-Min murmured, the promise renewed. 6 months later, peace held across territories. Zinny's programs reduced violence, creating unexpected goodwill. On their rooftop garden, she placed his hand on her belly. "We're not heroes," she said softly, "but we can teach our child that even in darkness, dignity matters. That power doesn't require cruelty. That love is possible, even where it shouldn't be." Dong-Min's arms encircled her, their child growing between them. Revolutionary love in an unredeemed world, proving that choice and integrity could exist anywhere people dared to claim them. Thank you for journeying through Zinny and Dong-Min's story with me. Their tale isn't about escaping darkness. It's about finding dignity within it, about choosing differently even when the world offers no good options. If this story moved you, challenged you, or made you think about love, power, and survival in new ways, please subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear that even in impossible circumstances, we still have choices. Your support keeps these stories alive. Until next time, remember, your voice matters, your choices matter, and you deserve partnerships built on respect, no matter where life has placed you.